In celebration of Donkey Kong Country's 30th anniversary, I wanted to make a video on it. I sat here debating and contemplating what I should do, so in an effort to figure it out, I decided I was just gonna go back and play DK Country and see what my brain would cook up. And then I found myself starting to ask questions and noticing things I never did before. So here we go. This is the mysteries of Donkey Kong Country. DK's secret pet. In the beginning of the game, in the level Jungle Hijinks, Donkey Kong starts the level by blasting out of his treehouse. You can climb back up and go into the treehouse, and when you do, you can see banana peels, a picture of candy, some butterflies, and a picture of some sailboats with a fish swimming around in it. Yeah, it seems like there's a live fish somehow in this picture swimming back and forth. It's not a bowl, and it doesn't really indicate that there is actual water in this. It's very easy to miss, but I guess DK has this secret pet fish that lives in a magical painting? Donkey Kong Jr. So no surprise, our main Kong in this series is not the original Donkey. In fact, we're directly told that the original arcade Donkey Kong is in fact Cranky Kong, who states that the current Donkey is his grandson. That means there is in fact a father out there not shown in game. Since we know Cranky is the original arcade DK, that leaves one obvious answer as to who the father is: Donkey Kong Jr. The question is, where is he? We never see him in game. He wasn't forgotten by Nintendo, but from this game on, they pretty much focus on this Donkey, aka Donkey Kong III. Perhaps DK Jr. retired and now lives out his days teaching math to the less fortunate Kongs. Animal crates. So something I've wondered, the crates that house our animal buddies like Rambi and Enguarde seem to be an invention of Cranky Kong. Jumping on them will bust them open and summon an animal buddy to be used in that level. While we do have DK barrels, which Kremlings seem to stuff DK and Diddy into if they're defeated, notice on the DK barrels we see them moving and making noise, unlike the animal crates. This would seem to indicate either the crates are much larger and not moving, or the animals aren't actually in there. I believe Cranky has created some sort of portal device that when activated will teleport the respective animal to that crate and reveal them. In later Donkey Kong games, specifically DK64, we see things like warp pads that confirm this technology or magic is possible in the world of the Kongs. Rock Krocs. One of the more interesting enemy types in the game, the level Stop and Go Station features this peculiar enemy. They appear to be Kremlings with glowing red eyes. They're completely invulnerable but have one weakness: the stop and go barrels. Almost like a shutoff switch. If you hit these to stop, they stop dead in their tracks and curl up. Are these Kremlings robotic? It seems like the red lights these barrels give off have a negative effect on them. I imagine it may completely blind them, and since they can't see but are invulnerable, they just decide to lie down until it goes away. How large is the Banana Hoard? Now, when we first enter the Banana Hoard cave under DK's treehouse, we see it to be completely empty, and as we progress through the game, we're seemingly collecting bananas. Every boss fight we encounter has a backdrop of tons of bananas, like an almost unfathomable amount of bananas. And when we defeat the bosses, we get one giant banana from them. At the end of the game, we can revisit the Banana Hoard and see tons of bananas back in the cave. We only see the tip of the iceberg, but I imagine the bananas in there amount to somewhere in the hundreds of thousands, maybe even a cool million. Rools Intentions. It's never fully revealed why Rool and his Kremlings are stealing the Banana Hoard. It seems to be implied in the instruction manual that the bananas are the perfect food rich in potassium and vitamin A. But honestly, that seems like Diddy Kong is thinking to himself. Could Rool and his crew be stealing the bananas for food? Are they coming to DK Isle in search of it because they're starving? Or are they stealing the bananas because they hate the Kongs? I believe the answer is maybe a little bit of both, and maybe even for another reason. It seems like the Kremlings descend from pirates, and Rool is stealing the bananas as a treasure to make profit off of. They also seem to be eating some of the bananas, as we can see the peels on Rool's ship. And let's not forget they do seem to dislike the Kongs, and taking from them seems to be okay in their book. So if they can benefit while the Kongs are hurting, it's a win-win. Let's not forget the Kongs hoard every banana they see. They have plenty to spare. Perhaps this may be more of a Robin Hood situation. DK should be more willing to share. Seems a little selfish. Kremkroc Industries, Inc. The Kremlings are clearly enemies of the Kongs, and being on DK Isle, how do they have a whole factory without DK or the other Kongs noticing? I believe the Manky Kongs are the reason. Being angry at DK and the other Kongs for rejecting them, these Kongs work with the Kremlings to give them a location that they know DK and the others won't frequent, just below the coldest part of the Isle. This is why you can see the Manky Kongs in the factory. They're actively working with Kremlings to get their revenge. Barrels. There are various kinds of barrels found throughout the game. Most are basic, as you can pick them up and throw them, some even being filled with TNT. But some barrels are floating in the air, and if you hop in, they'll launch you to another one or another area. This enables fast travel for the Kongs in their environment. The question is, how did these barrels get placed everywhere and who did it? I think the answer is simply Cranky Kong. That original Kong has always been obsessed with barrels, so the island being filled with them makes sense. It's also how this old Kong gets moving around between all of his cabins on your adventure. I believe Cranky worked to place these barrels all around the island and give them special properties. The ones that float are meant to help traverse the island. The TNT barrels were actually used to originally shape the island into looking like Donkey Kong's face. Or did you think that was natural? The ones that are laying out and found all around are simply left over. Treetop Huts Origins. In the level Treetop Town, we see these series of huts seemingly abandoned. If we look at the manual, we can read about the treetops with it stating, "In the lofty treetops of Donkey Kong Country, you'll find a deserted town of wooden platforms and huts. Origin unknown." So who could have lived here? I believe that this is the original home of the orangutan gang. They were rejected and exiled as stated before and forced out of their homes. They moved to the jungle just past the Temple Tempest. If the orangutan gang isn't the original creators of the treetop huts though, who else could it be? Bitesize in Banjo? Not sure if it's a reused asset between games or if it was put in here as a connection between the worlds, but Bitesize are the piranha in underwater levels in DK Country, and they have an identical counterpart in Banjo-Kazooie with the piranha that bites you in Bubble Gloop Swamp. Is it intentional or coincidental? It seems too close a match not to be, and we do know that these worlds are all connected, specifically with the release of Diddy Kong Racing a few years later. It's something I happen to notice and just think it's a cool nod if these were in fact intended to be the same. Enguarde's Fate, just to throw out another connection, though a bit more unfortunate. In the level of the boathouse in Grabbed by the Ghoulies, we can see a familiar swordfish dead and hanging on the wall. Remember, we do see Banjo-Kazooie's mounted heads in the game, so it's possible this isn't really him. Or is it? Well, that's all I have for you. Please drop a like on this video to help spread my content around YouTube, and be sure to subscribe and hit that noti bell so you don't miss my future uploads. Until next time, have a good one. Jiggylookback!